Well, hey everyone, and welcome back to Unshakable Pursuit. We're your hosts, Nati and Gideon. Gideon, how are you today, man?
I'm doing great. How are you, Nati?
I'm really excited for our conversation today. It's something obviously that we talk about a lot, something we've
Yes.
discussed a lot in men's ministry, something I think that honestly is on a lot of men's hearts and minds. So
Yeah.
today we are diving into a topic that's shaped both of our lives in massive ways, and that is mentorship. And whether you realize it or not, you're becoming someone's example, someone's influence, someone's predecessor. Mentorship is something that
Yeah.
plays such a pivotal role in our lives, especially as men and
Mhm.
as men that are looking to grow. And so today we're going to really dive deeper into this conversation. And two of like the big themes or questions we'll be going around are: one, are you becoming someone worth following? And
Mhm.
two, who are you following? And who are you
All right.
learning from?
Mm.
And so, a couple scriptures that we've been thinking about and reflecting on for this conversation are Second Timothy 2:2, and it says, "And the things you have heard me say in the presence of many witnesses, entrust to reliable people who will
Mm.
also be qualified to teach others."
Mm.
And then Proverbs 13:20, which is one of my favorite scriptures, says, "Walk with the wise and become wise, for a
Amen.
companion of fools suffers harm." This is one I'm
Mm.
sure we've both heard from our parents when we make mistakes
All right.
with our friends. And
Right.
so, really excited to dive into this, Gideon. Mentorship, honestly, it's God's multiplication strategy, and it's how
Mm.
wisdom is passed down. It's how
Right.
our faith is strengthened. It's how legacy is built. It's how we become
Mm.
more of the men that God would have us to be. And so to
Right.
start the conversation today, I just want to start thinking about, like, if we take a look back, who are some of the mentors, right, that shaped us?
Mm.
Who are those people that have played such a pivotal role in the
Mm.
people that we've become today? And
Right.
Gideon, mentorship has played such a huge role in my life,
Right.
especially during seasons of transition, seasons of uncertainty, where I
Right.
maybe didn't know what direction to take. And so to kind of kick off this conversation, would love to hear from you. Who were some of those early mentors for you in your life? And what impact did they have on how you live and lead today?
Yeah. Yeah. This is incredible topic, Nati. Thank you for coming up with the topic as well. You probe after our last week's conversation. You wanted to dive deep into this area, and it's very very dear to my heart, and those who knows me knows that I'm very big advocate for mentorship and people speaking into our life. Really excited about this, and this might be the first time I'm kind of opening up about some of the people who have impacted in my life. I mean, I've spoken generally, but maybe not diving deep into the detail and who and how I met them and so forth. So I actually love, I wanted to divide them into two groups. The first one are the people who they mentored me from a distance because I didn't have maybe the opportunity to be around them, or they were too maybe bigger than life at times, and maybe they weren't a part of my circle, but they did mentor me from far. And I want to call out a few people, and just mainly the first one. I think when I was early on in my high school years, high school to college, I remember being exposed to Dr. Miles Monroe's teaching. There was someone who used to park his car in our house, and he used to work for World Vision. And World Vision have a lot of, I'm going to age myself, but VHS and cassettes at that time of Dr. Miles Monroe. And I don't know how, but he got me into one of the teaching. I remember within just 1 year. So what I used to do, I get the VHS. I get up 3 in the morning and then watch the teaching, take a note, and then give him in the morning so he can, recycle and bring me another one. Within 1 year, I remember I did about 87. I watched over 87 teaching of Dr. Miles Monroe in high school. It was incredible. So mom and dad used to think, maybe my mom used to think I used to get up in the morning to study, but yes, I was studying the Word of God, learning from Dr. Miles Monroe, and I
Yeah.
literally devoured it. It was like God said. I was in a desert and a water came gushing. That's kind of how I took it. I was really excited. And back then, I was in high school, so I used to go to high school and teach what I learned as well. During our break time, I used to teach what I learned from Dr. Miles Monroe, what I was reading, what I was diving deep. So Dr. Miles Monroe plays a big role. And then fast forward in my early 20s, and even today, Dr. John Maxwell, John Maxwell, leadership coach, and I've been privileged to be a part of his. There's a subscription through a business organization that I'm a part of that I get one of his teaching once a month. So I would say the last 10, 15 years, I've been listening to John Maxwell at least once a month or multiple times a month, right? Because I usually listen multiple times, take a note, try to learn and grasp. And I've read multiple of his books and I've been in a conference where he spoke as well. So he has been a great part of my life, my journey and mentorship as well from far. So these are the people from far. And another one that impacted me about, questioning about faith and how to really understand how to understand the Bible, maybe from the worldview perspective and answer some difficult question was Dr. Ravi Zacharias. And I know in mentioning this, it's always people will say, Ravi, yes, he did impact my life and his ministry, RZIM, in my late 20s when I had a lot of questions. I was asking about faith and how to really help others navigate through the difficult question and so forth, regardless of the outcome and how he lived his life, which was not, I guess, known at that time that we came to know about Ravi, but his teaching at that time and his ministry, RZIM, to this day have impacted me in a lot of ways as well, in positive ways. So one of my mentor in person told me was, don't follow a man, follow principles. So sometimes when we have difficulty and when people that we've looked up to fell from their faith or fell into sin and other things, I always remember what my other mentor have told me, that I don't follow a man, I follow a principle that, so even though my heart ached at that time because I looked up to Ravi, but I think knowing that, having that perspective and learning from other close-up mentors who really taught me the principle and not following the exact man did kind of protect me. So the second set of mentors are people who are very close up and personal. And I've been blessed. God have placed them into my life along the way in my life journey. And few I wanted to give credit. First one was Tony, who became very close friend, Tony Olds, and his dad, Harold, who I met when I was in Michigan. And they've really impacted my life. And they've kind of opened the door for mentorship and to the network that they have at that time. And fast forward, Glenn was my personal mentor, Glenn Young, who went home to be with the Lord, 2021. He was an incredible older gentleman, but he really took interest in my life and who impacted my life and me and my wife, actually, both him and his wife, Linda Young. When I was single, I met them years ago, and they've imparted into my life. And once I got married, even in dating process and got married, both of them took me and my wife under their wings to help us, which was incredible. And then Preston Bruce that I met through Glenn. Preston was a bigger giant in life. He was just a giant, incredible. Both, his wife, Dr. Preston Bruce and Kayleen Bruce, incredible couple. Preston went home to be with the Lord, but Kayleen lives in Colombia. Just incredible couple. And then their mentor and Glenn's mentor, John and Jenny Belcrow, who have, I think, impacted my life more than any individual, so to speak. Those are the people that I have seen from, up close and getting to know them, having that personal relationship, but they really, really impacted me and shaped my life through the years, whether it's from far, some of them, some from distance, from relationship, and the people around them as well. So I just want to share a couple of, maybe things that I've learned about mentorship from them. And there's a lot of life lesson. I don't think we'll have enough time to talk, but I just wanted to kind of maybe share a couple of things. First, I learned that we're not meant to figure life out alone. I think that's one thing I've learned throughout the years is having someone along the way with you, maybe a couple of steps ahead of you, who you can learn from. And I think is just crucial. And that has been a great a great lesson that I've learned from them. And then also, we need father figures. Dive deep into this topic, but we all need father figures. For me, my dad was, is still a part of my life, an incredible father, awesome. But there was a season in my life where he didn't. We were living in two different continents. And during that time, God brought men into my life who really imparted into my life. So that was, I think, I needed people. I needed father figure in my life when my father was not present, when we were living in two different places because of, immigration situation and so forth. But God brought people into my life who really impacted me for better. And I'm better for as a result of that. And I actually have incredible relationship with my dad now because of the mentors in my life, because they taught me the power of father figure, the power of having a father in your life. And that kind of actually that changed in my relationship with my dad to change the way I was looking at my dad, and it kind of helped that relationship as well. Another one that I've learned from my mentors is, I think there's a quote: a parasite wants what a mentor has. Protege wants what the mentor knows. And they taught me not to seek what they have as far as maybe material possession or other things, but to know what they know so I can apply the principle and the wisdom that they have in my life, so my life would have a better outcome. And that's really, really important, because sometimes we look at people what material welds, and we go to have what they have, but we don't want to know what they know. And that's kind of the difference between really real proteges, one, what the mentor knows so they can apply. And then a couple of things I wanted to mention, and then we can go to you, Nati. Mentorship is taken, not given, and it requires humility, and it requires initiative. And I've also learned that never do for people what they could and should do for themselves. So a mentor's place is not for them to do the things for me. It is for them to help me, mentor me, coach me, and provide me some wisdom and different angle of looking at things, so I can go ahead and apply and do it myself. And that's kind of, it's empowering, because I don't wait for my mentor to do things for me. I will go do it. I just want to know. I just want to have the wisdom and how to do it. Maybe the approach, the mindset, and what they have. So those are some of the things I've learned. How about you, Nati? Who are some of the people in your life who mentored you, who impacted your life?
I think this is, yeah, really powerful conversation. And this person, his name's Pastor Dale. He was a pastor of the church I grew up going to as a kid. And I
Mm,
didn't know him like closely personally, but I was under his
mm,
leadership. We all went together as a family every Sunday. And
that's it.
he's really the one who helped strengthen and build my relationship with the Lord. Gave me a lot of,
Mm,
beyond what my parents have done in the fundamentals of the faith. I
mm,
remember every Sunday they would have, those handouts, paper handouts that they give you to
mm.
take notes in. They had one of those every Sunday, and I would
Yep.
collect them. And I'm not exaggerating, probably 400 of those hole punched in a binder which has been a huge blessing. So Pastor Dale is definitely someone that I was mentored by from afar. I would also say that listening to different pastors for me growing up, we listened to a lot of Benny Hinn in our house.
Mm,
I watched TBN as a kid, and
yep.
so learned a lot through the different
Yep.
ministers there. And then for me personally, I've been very, very blessed to have some great, great mentors.
Mm,
And both people I can say that have grown me within my faith, and then also people that have grown me in career and other areas. So Larry Thomas is the biggest one I had. He was the director of
mm,
my scholarship program in undergrad, and we have stayed close the last how many, 12
mm,
years? Let's say, yeah, 12 years now, which is crazy.
mm, mm,
And so Larry was a huge, huge mentor for me. We've
mm.
known each other 12 years now. He was the director of my scholarship program. And to this day, we still talk on the phone, probably 2 to 3 hours most weeks. And
Wow.
I've just learned so much from him in how I relate with people, how I've built my career, the way I think and operate. And so really grateful for him. And through him, I got to meet other individuals that have been life changing for me. One of which was Lord Michael Hastings. He is a member of Parliament in the UK. And so I was blessed to work under him, a person that is a man who loves the Lord, who is following God in all that he does, and is someone who is in a position of real power and influence. He's connected to a lot of people
Mm,
in the UK and is someone that people look up to and admire. And I learned a lot about
mm,
mentorship from him because one of the things, and we'll talk about this later, is that people wonder, how am I going to have time to be a mentor or to like fit
right.
that into my busy schedule? I can guarantee you there is
Mm,
no one busier than him, like no one. And he still has the time to run a network of mentorship for I don't know how many people it is now. When I was there, 70, 80 young Black men who are seeking to grow
mm,
their lives. And he would pour into us. He would spend time with us
mm,
individually. He would
mm,
bring us together and host us at his house for breakfasts and would pray with us and read and share scripture and what God has put on his heart. And so someone that I truly admire because it showed me that you can be
mm.
in the marketplace,
Yep.
you can be in the world and in politics and different things and still maintain your faith and walk with the Lord in an
That's awesome.
upright manner. And so a lot of mentoring that I've learned and been developed over the years has been through him. And it's funny, even when 10 years, almost 10 years now on, I still check in with him whenever I'm in London and I try to go like once a year. Whenever I'm there, I'll shoot him a message and I have no expectation. I know he's
Mm,
busy, so he might
mm,
not be able to make it. But he has always made time for me. Even if it's the last time I was there, he said, "Hey, I've got 30 minutes in between meetings. Can you make it into Parliament? I'll meet you at 4 o'clock. I have to leave at 4:30." 3:59, he walks in, we meet, we walk in. 4:29, he starts getting up. He has to leave at 4:30. And I'm like, man, this is like incredible. And there's another
mm,
person waiting
mm.
to meet him at 4:30. And so I learned a lot about mentorship, what it looks like to lead
Right.
in the marketplace in an honoring and in a godly way through him. So that was really inspiring. And then, of course, I've had people in the church that have been mentors for me that have really developed me over the years. And like a Pastor Paul has been a great mentor for me over the last several years. Lee Grady has been someone that has been a mentor and someone that has been a person I come to for wisdom and counsel. Gideon, over the last several years, you've been a mentor for me as well. Seeing the way that you lead and live your life and seeing how you lead and raise your family has been a blessing for me to witness and to watch. And really, part of what it is at the end of the day is
Mm,
recognizing someone is ahead of you in
yep.
certain capacities, right? And maybe it's not even thinking about it as ahead; it's
Yep.
they're at a different stage, and maybe it's a
Exactly.
stage that you want to get to one day. And because they're there, you would be wise to ask them what are some of the experiences they've
Yep.
had, the ups and downs, the challenges and tribulations. So that's the way that I've approached it. And a lot of things have been shared with me over the years in terms of being mentored by people. And one that I'll maybe mention is that it double clicks
Mm,
on what you said earlier. It's almost like therapy. Therapy, the therapist is not
mm-hmm,
there to give you all the answers. They're there to help you
mm-hmm,
discover certain things. I would say a mentor probably is a little bit more prescriptive because they can actually tell you like, hey, I've walked through your
yep.
shoes in this situation. You can go ahead and
Mm,
experience it the way that you want, but I would I'm happy to share my experience. So if it was a challenging moment, maybe you don't have to go
mm,
through that same thing. And so for me, what I've learned over the years is that the best mentors don't give you every answer; they
mm-hmm.
give you better
That's
questions
good.
and they help you
That's
to
good.
think deeper. They help you to walk straighter in your path, and they also help
Mm,
you to stay anchored and remind
mm,
you of who you are, who
mm.
you've committed to be, and who God's called you to be. Because sometimes life circumstances can
Yep.
make you waver there, right? Sometimes life
Of course.
circumstances can make you uncertain of who you are. You start to doubt yourself in a lot of different capacities, and and so I've really appreciated that about the
Mm,
mentors in my life and one thing I would mention is, and we'll go into what it looks like to be a good mentee. Um, as you look for mentors, before you look for a mentor, you mentioned one thing, right? You have to be proactive in leading the initiative and engaging with them and
mm-hmm,
preparing questions and all of that. If we take a step back even from that, you have to be willing to be vulnerable and actually give
yep.
them access into your life. Because if I come to you, Gideon, you're like, so Nati, tell me, how are things going? and I'm like, hey man, things are great. I'm enjoying this. This is that. If I'm very plain and vanilla, you're not a mind reader. You can't do anything beyond the
Right.
access and the level of information I give you. So to get to a depth of
Mm,
mentorship and relationship, you have to be willing to accept that you need to get to a level of
mm,
depth of
mm,
vulnerability within yourself. And I think that's the challenging
right.
part for people sometimes. And so, anyways, we'll dive into some more of these sections as we
Right.
go through the conversation. Um,
That's
but that's a high level how I've
That's
experienced
that's wonderful, Nat.
mentorship.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much wisdom you shared within just your experience, and I love the fact that finding mentors in a marketplace is just so, because they are in the hunt, they are in the trenches. I love learning from those who are in the field with me. All right, who I can really relate and ask questions and different, and they can understand the current marketplace and so forth. So I love learning
Yeah.
from those close to me. For most of them were like in the trenches with me, so I really was able to learn and kind of run different scenarios by them and see, this is a kind of maybe the angle I'm looking at it. If you are in my position, how would you look at it? And they know, because they maybe are, like you say, a different season of life. They can really understand, and it's really, really incredible to see, to find people who are actively doing what they're teaching you. It's just so refreshing, and
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Absolutely, Gideon. It's yeah, it's an encouragement. And I would say, I want you to talk a little bit more about this. I talk to a lot of guys in like men's ministry or some of my friends, and they hear me discuss, hey, I met with my mentor, I did this, I had a really good conversation, I'm learning a lot. They oftentimes will look at me and say, I wish I had some mentors. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know how to go about it. I know I need it. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
young person. I know I need it, but like there's no playbook for me.
Mm-hmm.
How do I find the right mentor? I feel like nervous or awkward
Mm-hmm.
asking them, how do I practically, what are the steps to find the mentor? How do I engage them in
Right.
that type of a conversation? And once I do, and hopefully, they are willing to mentor me, okay, well, now I've really got to
Mm-hmm.
build this relationship. What are the things I need to do to really sustain and to build a mentoring
Mm-hmm.
relationship with this person? So would love to hear how you've approached this from the side of being mentored by someone. How have you thought through that process, Gideon? Because people feel stuck. A lot of guys feel stuck. And it's not because they
Mm-hmm.
don't want mentorship, it's because they don't
Right.
know how to start. So, what does that process for seeking a mentor without feeling awkward or intimidated in asking them
Right.
look like for you? And what have you
That's
done
that's
that was
that's
effective?
wonderful. Yeah. So for in this case, we're talking about mentors who are nearby you, right? People you want to get, personal, maybe personal time with them. And so for the way I wanted to maybe frame that is, first, know what you're looking for, right? Because you're not going to find one mentor for every part of your life, right? There's spiritual, leadership, family wise, financially, maybe personal health, a business. It could be any area of your life, that to find where you need mentorship, right? And like I mentioned, one person is not going to be a mentor for every part of your life. Just to accept that. Spiritually, maybe you need to look for people in around the church and the church community. Leadership could be also church, or maybe in your organization or other places. Or leadership, there's a lot of leadership conferences and places you can place yourself, be in those environments to seek guidance and in learning. And family, it could be someone who have really good family that you see around maybe the framework, around church, maybe around the value system that you have, and they have incredible family. You see they're raising awesome kids. Maybe it's someone who can learn, right? And me and my wife always talk about some people that we are looking around like, man, I would love to learn how they do it. And when we get opportunity, maybe ask them like, how did you do it, those kind of things. So just have a maybe small conversation, right? So first, know what you want. Just clarify what you're looking for, right? And once you know what you're looking for, and at least decide the direction or the area where you would want to be mentored. uh Second, just look around. Okay, look around you, or be in an environment where you can look around and be able to find mentors, right? Um, like so in our context, for example, church, look around the church. Don't look up and only for people who are on stage or on leadership position. Look around you. There's a lot of people who come to the church who might be actually who might have the wisdom in the area that you're looking for. It could be career mentorship you need. Might be church people in the church that actually have really incredible career paths, and they've made great career choices that they can maybe help you. It might not be in the same industry, it might be different, but there's some principles you can learn from. And also might be there might be a step or two ahead, right? Like Nati, what you mentioned, it might be a season, or just it might be they might have been in the past further or longer than you, and the same path, so they might have achieved some success there that you can learn from. Look around. The community that was in the area you're in might have people that you have been overlooking that you can find. Just personal example how I am currently seeking also mentors. Few weeks ago, maybe a month or so ago, there was a networking event at our company, and there is someone I didn't expect. Just this kind of random conversation was started, and I found out she's executive coach for our VPs and above. And I literally kind of like was probing a lot. Just wanted to really dive deep into her mindset. Okay, how do you know what are some of the things you do? How do they come to you? What are you looking for? In a coaching session with them. And she's very accomplished executive herself. And now in our company where I currently work, she is executive coach. And I didn't know there is executive coach within our organization, and let alone in our building. And now I'm actually getting time with her. And I am really excited because I wanted to learn from her experience, but also from the experiences of those she coached, right? So I'm getting time with her. And again, how I did is I asked her, hey, after having a really good conversation, I really connected with you. Do you mind grabbing a coffee? Just maybe once a month or every other month, whenever you have time. Just I would love to continue this conversation and be able to dive deep into the wisdom that you have and the experience you have. That's kind of how I approach it. Again, it's different for a work environment versus a church and other things, but the same principle, the same approach would work. Right? Just so look around the network you have and people you're around. And then once you look around, just observe. Just because someone is ahead, that doesn't mean they have the fruit that you're looking for. So just be a fruit inspector. My mentor always says, be a fruit inspector. Make sure they have good fruit before they coach you and mentor you, because it might be it might get as good as they have attained, right? But again, like I said, it might not be every season of their life that they have fruit, right? Every part of their life that they have fruit. So maybe focus on the area that they have fruit. And then make a clear, humble ask, a request, saying, hey, would love to get to know you. I have a few questions in this area. Would you be available for a phone call? Someone reached out to me not long ago, a phone call. It was just, it was humbling to get that, right? Someone, young, upper mobile, who's moving forward in life, have a couple of questions. They want to run a few ideas by me. What a great opportunity, right? I would love to have that kind of conversation. I said, I do have time. Let's chat on the phone. We chat on the phone. Just the mindset is incredible with this young man, and just wanted to run a few ideas by me, which is just phenomenal. So that's how you can start as well. And then lastly, what I wanted to leave, and I want to transition to you, Nati, as well, because I've noticed great qualities from the way you approach mentorship. And maybe we can dive deep into that. Be a good steward of the relationship, right? Be a good steward. In a sense, when you meet, just don't talk random stuff. Just use that time and asking questions, right? Ask a question and then just be prepared. Before you go to the meeting, be prepared. Not last minute. It's like, prepare, like ask really questions that would help you in an area. They might not have an answer. If they don't, they might point you to an answer, but be prepared and just use that time. And then second, follow advice, right? If you get mentorship and
Awesome.
Even sometime when you are not in agreement, uh, I highly recommend you applying the advice and the feedback you're receiving. Otherwise, it's kind of wasted time, right? Don't be only collecting, just
Yeah.
apply it and be able to
Yeah.
to go from there. So what I've noticed through our friendship the last few years, and every time me and you meet, you come with question, you come prepared, you have agenda, you send me an agenda before even meeting, and you really respect my time, and I have noticed you respect other people's time as well, which is commendable and incredible. What are some of the things maybe what's your observation in this area and getting a mentor and asking for mentorship? Maybe you can dive deep a little bit into your experience there.
Yeah. No, I loved what you shared there, Gideon. And people are probably going to get tired of me doing this, but I'm taking more notes. This is not the same page. This is a new page of notes. And so definitely some powerful comments. One that I'll just start with quickly and then I'll go into what I've been thinking about is you mentioned this idea of follow advice. Like, don't waste your time or the person's. I don't want to come to a conversation and you've told me or someone has given me advice on something and then we follow
Nothing
up
about it.
and I've done nothing with
Yeah.
it, right? Like, you have to apply the advice that you've been given. There's a phrase in Amharic, if I translate it to English, basically it says, advise them. If they don't listen,
Mm,
let the
mm.
trial teach them. And so
Yeah.
I would much rather let your advice be the teacher for me
Pain.
than going through the pain of the trial. And so I do try to apply, what I'm hearing and what I'm learning as much as I can. And so for me, honestly, I get really excited about
Mm,
finding mentors. And I'll tell you this, Gideon, and my friends know this. I've been very, very, very
mm.
blessed. I won't even say lucky in finding like incredible mentors in the
Faces.
most random situations. And I'll share one of them at the end of this. But on flights, I've met so
Mm,
many people on flights. I've met so many people walking just on tours and
mm,
visits in other countries. And I just open
mm,
up into a conversation with them. And then God gives me the discernment, oh, maybe this is someone you should really, get
mm,
to know a little bit better. But let me get a little bit practical here as you were doing. So I think of it really in three steps in how I look to seek
mm,
and identify a mentor. The first one is the point you made on being a fruit inspector. So I said, look for fruit,
mhm.
not fame. Don't
Right.
just look for someone that's famous,
Yep.
look for someone that's fruitful. Because a lot of people are
Yep.
famous without fruit. We glorify a
Yep.
lot of people in our society today. And so start by observing people in your community, in your church, in your workplace. Ask yourself some of these questions. Who is someone that walks with integrity? Who
Yep.
loves their family well? Who has the kind of maybe spiritual
Mm,
maturity that I admire? To your point, maybe who has the type of career trajectory that I'm
mm.
looking for professionally? They don't have to have this
Yep.
massive platform. They need to be faithful and
Yep.
they need to be real. Because at the end of the day, mentorship is not about like the most charismatic person.
Mm,
It's about
mm,
character. And one filter that I think can be helpful is asking yourself,
mm,
if my life looked like theirs in 10 years in the area that I'm maybe looking for mentorship,
mm,
would I be proud of that?
mm,
Is that something that I admire?
mm,
And really, the word admiration is one that I use as a filter a lot of
mm.
times. I'm not mentored by anyone that I
Yep.
don't admire. If I was, I'm making a mistake by
Right.
being mentored by them. And so that's the first step I look for is look for fruit and
Mm,
not just for fame. And then as I've identified maybe someone to seek a mentorship relationship with, initiate with clarity
mm,
and with honor. And this is where
mm,
people get stuck a lot of times because they don't know how to
mhm,
approach the conversation. They also don't know like what to say. Like, if I ask you to be my mentor, do I have to put a time on it? Like, hey, Gideon, will you be my mentor for the next 3 years? No, like that's not, you don't
mm,
have to, it's
mm.
not, you're not
Right.
signing a contract, right? Really, the way that you approach it is saying something like, hey, I've really admired the way that you carry yourself, in your faith, in your family, the way that you lead. I'm in a season where I'm trying to grow
Yep.
spiritually and personally. And maybe you have like specific
Yep.
areas that you mentioned to them. I've seen how you have been able to, for example, pour into your wife well and build a healthy
Right.
marriage. I'm now maybe I'm considering getting
Right.
married. I'm dating someone, I'm considering getting married, or I'm not dating anyone yet. And I'd love to hear a little bit more about how you approached that season in your life. What were the things that you had to reflect on and think about? How did you know you were prepared to step into a season of dating and
Mm.
eventually marriage? Would you mind grabbing coffee, or would you mind hopping
Yeah.
on a call with me to talk through that? I would really appreciate your wisdom and the experiences that you've had there, and would love to learn and sit
Right.
under you. And there's a level of humility that has to come in here, right? I remember Lord Hastings, he used to tell me something about some of his
Mm.
mentors when he was a teenager, and he literally said he would sit under them. Basically, it's almost like sitting at their
Yep.
feet and learning from them, right? And there is a
Yep.
apprenticeship almost to this, and a humility and an admiration that comes into this. And that's how I approach mentorship, because it's a gift, and the person is giving you a gift of their time, of their experience, of their wisdom. And so you got to start simple. You have to really be
Mm.
relational about it, and begin to build trust. And once you do that and you build trust and a rhythm there, it naturally can evolve into mentorship as the person sees, okay, this is
Mm.
someone that's consistent, this is someone that is thoughtful, right, in what they do. And to that point, once you have been able to inspect the fruit, once you've been able to initiate with clarity and honor, hopefully now you're at a stage where they've been open to engaging with you. Now it's on you to
Right.
maintain that relationship, right? It's on you to build that. It's on you to sustain that. And so you have to take ownership. You
Yep.
have to take ownership. Like, it is on you to
Right.
take ownership. To your point, Gideon, be prepared for each time
Right.
that you meet with them. Don't expect them to
Mm-hmm.
carry the relationship. Like, I don't expect people that are mentoring me to be the ones that, hey, Nati, we haven't met in 3 months. Some of them might do that just
Mm.
because they care that much, but
Right.
that should never be their responsibility. That's on me to set that time up, to follow up with them, to give them updates on, hey, Gideon, you told me this last time that we spoke. I just wanted to let you know, one, I appreciated what you said. Maybe not in the moment, like I didn't know how to
Mm.
receive it in the moment, but I reflected on it a few weeks later. It really made sense for me. And here's what I've done
Right.
since then with the information and with the advice
Right.
and counsel that you gave me. Here's where I am now. And so I've got another question for you
Mm.
based on where I am now. Because in that way, you as the mentor are hearing, okay, Nati, he listened to me. He was honest and vulnerable
Right.
about what's going on. He also like was real. He didn't say like, oh, I just accepted it. No, maybe he didn't fully understand it at the time. He had to digest it a little bit, because there's a lot of tough love that comes
Right.
through mentorship as well. But eventually he got to a point where he applied some of what I've shared, maybe not everything yet, and now he wants to have another conversation. Okay, yeah, I can invest in that because my words are not
Mm-hmm.
falling on deaf ears. Like, you're actually like,
Yep.
you're not wasting my time. You're being intentional, listening, and respecting the conversations and discussions that we've had. And so I think that that's a really important
Right.
piece of this as well. And I think we need to remember, we're not looking for a superhero, right? A mentor, you're not looking for a
Right.
superhero. You're just looking for a brother who is ahead of
Yep.
you on the road, just a little bit further than you on the road. The road might have bumps. Sometimes the best lessons we learn come
Yep.
from those bumps and from those failures, and
Mm.
not their successes. And so it's important to be intentional in
Yep.
approaching it that way. And the last thing I'll mention here before I share the quick story is, you need to also put this in prayer, just like
Right.
other things that you care about. You need to put this in prayer, because at the end of the day, God presents people, and I've
Mm.
seen it a lot in my life. God presents people to you that you might have not even ever
Mm.
thought of being your
Mm.
mentor. And so ask God and pray this simple prayer.
Right.
Prayer, Lord, show me who I should learn from in this season. Show me who you would have to grow me in this season. I trust you to find the right people for
Yep.
me in this season. And lastly, like, be bold. Don't be, shy about it. The worst thing, my opinion, and I tell a lot of people this, Gideon, the worst thing that can happen
Mm.
is the person says
Yep.
no, or they're too busy. That's the worst thing that can happen. And guess what? That is exactly the same situation you're
Right.
in if you don't ask.
Yep.
So it literally can
Yep.
only get better. It either stays the
Yep.
same or it can only
Right.
get better. It can't get worse. And so that's how I think about it. And I'll just share, maybe I'll
Mm.
make it super quick. I was in Singapore
Mm.
in March for spring break. I went on a food tasting tour where you just walk through the city and you're
Okay.
on this food tasting tour. I had a conversation with this older
Mm.
gentleman that was there. We ended up being on the tour together. It's a small group tour, 7, 8 of us. We were on this tour for about 3 hours. We get into conversation. I'm learning about his life. He's learning about me. we really clicked and we really connected. And I came to find out this man was the former CEO of Applebee's and TGI
Wow.
Fridays and like several
Wow.
other restaurants around the country. Like he's one of the big restaurant kind of
Mm.
titans in America. And he's been retired now. He's just on
Wow.
vacation in Singapore. And we had a great time. He ends up giving me his card. And I take his card and shoot him a message. And I said, like, would love to stay in touch with you.
Mm.
You know, people
Mm.
do that typical thing. But then I really did follow up with him. I remember he said in May, when you're back from school in a couple months, he lives in Maryland, maybe let's connect. So in May, I get home, I reach out to him and we connect. And I ask him, like, hey, you know, I hope you're doing well. Would love to find some time to chat. Really appreciated getting to know you there. And there's a lot I could learn from
Wow.
you. And what he does is he's really excited about it. He invites me
Wow.
to his home and gives me literally
Wow.
8 hours of his time. I drive up 2 hours. He gives me full day of his time, and I'm able to learn from him, learn from his experience. He shows me around the town. He gives me like all these background and perspectives on the things that he's experienced in his life. And he says, you know, I consider you like family now, so
Wow.
please reach out whenever you're back in town. We'd love to continue to connect and
Mm.
stay rooted together. And I was just
Mm.
blessed. He was a believer, and he was someone that had done mission work in Ethiopia. It was
Wow.
like the most random, fortuitous situation where God really aligned several things. But it was also on me to continue to sustain and build that. Moving forward, I definitely need to follow up with him and sustain that relationship. So, anyways, just an example of what that's looked like for me, Gideon, and how it's been a blessing to
Mm.
find those mentors and how we
Yeah.
can practically do that. But as we round out the conversation today, as someone who has led the men's ministry, as someone who has mentored people probably close by and also from afar, how have you thought about
Mm.
being a mentor? What has your approach to mentoring others looked like? And one angle of it that I'm curious about is how do you do that while not having it all together yourself? Because
Right.
none of us are perfect, right? So how do you mentor while knowing you don't have it, you know, knowing you don't have
Mm.
it all together yourself either? Would love to hear your perspective here because on one side, there are men who don't know how
Mm-hmm.
to ask for a mentor. On the other side, there are a lot of men who have a lot to
Mm-hmm.
give, Gideon,
Mm-hmm.
a lot. And they disqualify
Yeah.
themselves for some reason from doing that. And it is
Mm-hmm.
a disservice to them, and it's a disservice to the people that
Right.
they could be blessing and leading and grow. So would love to get your
Awesome.
perspective here.
That was incredible story, by the way. Out of all places, in Singapore, and he live in Maryland, and you live in Maryland. It's just random, but it's really not random, honestly.
Yeah.
And I can tell you how many people I've met along the way, places I have never told. My first
Yeah.
mentor, I met him at bookstore, self improvement section,
Wow.
and that kind of opened up doors for
Mm-hmm.
me to things I've never thought I would. And so that's why, like, you just be observant. There are people around. God bring people around us sometimes. But we ignore it. Maybe He bring opportunity for
Mm-hmm.
Him to open door for us, but we kind of be nonchalant about it, right? So, like, there's a lot of opportunity
Yeah.
around us, honestly. So, highly recommend for anyone. Just when you're out about build a relationship, it comes out of relationship. Be open to
Yeah.
hear from others, and be open to kind of get to know about their life. If you weren't open to know about this person, Nati, I can guarantee you it would have been just a shallow conversation, hi, and then move on. But you did.
Yep.
You were inquisitive in trying to get to know him. That led you to be able to meet him in his house, and that's kind of pretty much with my mentor Glenn. Is like that relationship. Meeting him from Cracker Barrel first time. I remember having breakfast at Cracker Barrel, leading to him being a part of my wedding and counseling me and my wife. And I've been
Yeah.
to his house so many times, like just spending the whole weekend with them, and so many times. It's just like my life totally
Mm-hmm.
transformed because, again, I was open. He loved Corvette, so he talked about Corvette. He'd taken me a ride in Corvette. I'm not into Corvette. Guess what? I was interested to know about Corvette because if that is his hot button, guess what? I wanted to be around him so I can spend time with him. So I go do things that he is excited to
Yeah.
do because I wanted to maybe the 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, or an hour, 2 minutes, and two that he gives me, I wanted to kind of, pick up some, crumb from his table. So that's kind of how you have to be hungry to grow. And I love what you say about ownership as well. You own your personal growth. You own your spiritual growth. You own every part of your life growing. So you have to show up as an owner. You have to show up trying to do whatever needs to be done to grow yourself. And this is one of those things. So when it comes to mentoring and not having it all together, I can guarantee you I don't have it all together. And none of us do, right? Only Christ had. And so it's not about being flawless. It's about being faithful, right? I'm not expected to be a flawless mentor because I'm not one, or my mentors have flaws for sure. But it's about being faithful and being available to answer questions and maybe provide feedback and just build that relationship as well. Someone to look up to you, but also just, share not only your wins, but also just share your struggles, right? People admire your strengths, but they connect with your struggle. So one of my mentors once said, don't follow a man who doesn't have a limp. And he was referring to limp that Jacob had in the Bible, and where he wrestled with God, and his hip socket was God touched his hip socket, made him to limp. And again, don't rest. My mentor, this is John Crow, said, don't follow a man who doesn't have who doesn't limp, because he wants someone who have struggled with God, who have his relationship have been amended, and now he's following God from place of humility, from a place of humility, rather than feeling that person have made it by themselves, because we don't, none of us are, right? So you have to be humble. And when other people come to me, just, approach it with humility. There are a lot of opportunity. I've had a privilege of mentoring over 100 people, and countless by now. It's a lot of people I've come along. Again, some for a season, some for a longer season, some for a lifetime, became close friends. So with that, just know the season you're in. Maybe it might be an area you wanted to focus and help, but just be humble. It's not about you. Most of the time, it's not even me knowing the answer. It's about maybe referring them to a book that I read, or maybe to a podcast I listened to, someone who knows better, and might saying, "Yeah, I don't know the answer, to be honest. Maybe we can search together." It's a journey. So don't try to come up as a strength, and I try not to. And share the struggle too, the things you've learned along the way. Say, hey, I used to struggle in this area. Most of the time that most people's life have been impacted when I share them the struggle I went through, to be honest. And knowing like, wow, you used to struggle with this, and this is the area you are still growing. And yes, it is a journey. We all are going. Some of us are maybe one or two steps ahead of the others, and we can learn from each other and do that. And lastly, be consistent, show up. And, you don't have to know everything, but just, you're growing. You are in the journey of growing. And I wanted to leave you with this, but legacy is not what you leave for people, but what you live in people. And now my parent, I wanted to mentor my kids, but my kids are not going to most likely listen to me. So they're going to listen to people that I'm mentoring. So I was just actually having a conversation with a good friend of mine that I've had the privilege of mentoring. I was chatting with him, and instead of, teaching them, validate what we are saying, right? Because as parents, there are things we teach them, but kids, I'm still a dad, so they don't listen to me. But they would rather listen to someone I've mentored. So I've had that privilege of, sharing my experience with others, also other people imparting to my kids, and vice versa. So that's kind of what I guess the mindset that I have regarding this. How about you, Nati?
Yeah, Gideon, this is you said don't follow a man that doesn't have a limp. And I think that a lot of times, first of all, everyone has a limp, right? But a lot of times people do their best to hide their limp. And they try to walk as normally as possible, at least when they're in public, right? Or at least when they're around others. They don't want people to notice or see their limp. And so I love that point, because I'm being vulnerable maybe as someone who's being mentored and asking for mentorship, but then I can learn the most when you as a mentor are also being vulnerable in sharing, hey, I know you asked me about this area. I'll be honest. I might not be the best person on this particular subject. I've also had a
Mm-hmm.
lot of struggle here. Or, hey, I actually can help you in this area because I've had a lot of struggle here. And I can speak from a place of relatability and of
Mm-hmm.
challenge. As we said earlier, mentorship's not about
Right.
having all the answers. It's really about having open hands, an open heart, and an open life. And for people who are thinking about becoming mentors or who haven't thought
Mm-hmm.
about it before, know that like you don't need a title. You don't need a title to
Mm-hmm.
lead someone. You just need a testimony, and you just need an open heart for God to continue to work in you. And so there's some practical things that you can do. One thing I love to do with people is just start simple. Text someone
Mm-hmm.
that you know that maybe mentioned something to you recently, like you were at a coffee or you were at church, and after service you heard someone say, hey, I've got this big interview coming up, like keep me in prayer. All right, well, let me check in. Hey, how did that interview go? How are you feeling
Mm-hmm.
about it afterwards? Oh, I'm sorry you didn't end up getting that role. I actually work in that same space. Can I help you maybe
Mm.
prep for the next
That's
one?
good.
And there are relationships that build out of these simple things, right? I think sharing lessons that you've learned is also a huge way that we mentor. And it's not necessarily from the mountaintop,
Really.
right? But a lot of the ones that are
Mm.
impactful are from the valley.
Yep.
And like you said, Gideon, people respect your peaks, they
Yep.
respect them, but they relate
Right.
more to your pain. And so that's
Right.
important for us
Right.
to think about. And we see even with Paul, right, who mentored
Mm.
Timothy, he reminded him not to let
Mm.
anyone look down on you because of
Yes. Yep.
your youth. And that goes both ways. You don't need to be
Yep.
older, right, to be impactful. You just
Right.
need to be willing. And if you wait until you're like ready and you feel like, oh, I'm in the perfect position for this, you'll never start because you'll never be
All
in the
right.
perfect position. And that's one of the biggest lies that we're led to believe is that you need to be an expert to be a mentor, or you need to be an expert to be used by God. But look at who Jesus called as his disciples. They were fishermen, right? He discipled them while walking. He did things with them in their daily life. And that's really what mentorship is. And that's how I think about it. It's walking with people in your daily life, letting them see how you pray, how you handle stress, how you ask for forgiveness, how you make big decisions. How do you discern difficult moments? How do you deal with grief? How do you deal with pain? How do you deal with joy, right? Do you take all the credit? Do you let it get to your head? Part of it is what we say to communicate to people. A lot of it is what they observe from us
Mm-hmm.
and how they see us living our lives. And so it's really important to think about that. And let's be real, Gideon. Both of us are, we care a lot about our careers and things, but your LinkedIn is not going to disciple anyone at
Yep.
the end of the day. Your resume is not going to raise
Right.
the next generation, but it's your time, it's your prayers, it's your consistency
Right.
that can shape
Right.
someone's destiny. And if I think about legacy in mentorship, I'm not just thinking about being successful. I'm thinking about really trying to be as
Yep.
faithful as I can be. And when I'm 60, I want to look back and know that there are men walking with Christ because I made time
Mm.
when I was 30
Yep.
or when I was 20. And I think that it's so important to have that mindset in how we approach mentorship because we do have
Yep.
something to give, right? We do have something to give, and we
Right.
do have a way that we can connect with people. And so for anyone listening, remember that like you do have something to give.
Right.
Don't hoard your wisdom. Don't
Right.
underestimate
Right.
your journey. Somebody is out there waiting for your yes. And to be honest, this podcast
Yep.
is an answer to that for us, right? Like we have had such powerful conversations. And this podcast started because we felt like, man, we would love
Right.
if more people could hear these conversations. It doesn't mean that we're
Right.
the
Right.
authority on any of this or
Right.
that we have all the answers, but we
Right.
just want to be a resource to people. We just want to be another
Yep.
tool in your toolkit that can help
Yep.
you take a step closer to God. And that's really what we're trying to do with this podcast. And so, whether you're just getting started in your faith or you've been walking with God for years, mentorship matters. We're not
Yep.
meant to grow in isolation, like you said, Gideon. And God grows us
Yes.
through our relationships,
Yep.
through the challenge of them, through the
Right.
encouragement that comes from them, and the reflection that we have. So, as we close, I just want to encourage people listening text a mentor and thank them for the way that they've impacted you. Reach out to someone younger maybe in your faith and ask how they're doing. See maybe if there's an opportunity for you to mentor them. And pray and ask God 2 questions. 1, who should I invest in this season as someone that you would place on my heart to mentor? And 2, who are people that you would place into my life that I should approach and see if they would be able to mentor me in a particular area of my life? With that, Gideon, I want to say thank you for the conversation. Thank you for the wisdom that you shared today. I think that we've had a powerful and really probably a topic we'll revisit again, because I know it's one that keep in mind a lot. But it's been
you too, Nati. Thank you. It's incredible. There's so much wisdom in you, and thank you for sharing your story. And it's a journey, right, for all of us. It's a journey, and those of you who are listening who feel like, I wanted to mentor, but I don't know. Remember, God doesn't call the qualified, right? He qualifies the called. And so He's called you to mentor others. He's called you to share your wisdom, what you've learned, good, bad, and ugly sometimes, right? And knowing how to share that. But just, remember, just start with, just a normal conversation over a coffee. You don't know what hang in the balance of just one decision, one impact you can make in one person's life, which could change generation and to come. And that's the case in my life. I'm glad my mentors, even though I was not qualified, they didn't overlook me at that time. And that have changed my life and the trajectory of my kids and the next generation, so many people's life. And so don't ignore that one coffee conversation. It could mean a lot. So thank you, Nati. Great conversation. Looking forward for the next one, and also even diving deep in the future to the same topic. So looking forward to chat with you.
Thanks everyone for tuning in to Unshakable Pursuit. Share this episode with a brother who's impacted your walk or someone you want to start walking with. And so until next time, stand firm, stay faithful, and let's take one step closer today to becoming the men that God has made us to be. Thanks everyone. Talk to you all soon.